Thanks, Sophie, for that intro. And it's so exciting to be here as a part of Lengow Day. It's an event I've wanted to attend for a couple of years now. So it's great to be here, especially to be here the year where it's really is literally opened up to the world. So thank you, all of you, wherever you are, whatever your time zone is right now. Thank you for tuning in and joining us. My name's Chloë Thomas. I'm the host of the ECommerce MasterPlan and Keep Optimizing podcast. I've been in this e-commerce world for over 15 years now. And throughout that time, whatever I've been up to, I've been engaged in helping people solve their marketing problems, whether it's the companies I worked for, the clients I had when I had a marketing agency, or the listeners to my podcast and the readers of my books. Which is why when they asked me to host one of these panel sessions and they gave me the option of Marketing 4.0, I was like, yes, that sounds right up my street. So for the next 45 minutes or so, me and the marvelous panelists are going to be helping you to solve your marketing problems by discussing Marketing 4.0, how to combine brand and performance. So I think we should probably get the panelists on right now and find out a little bit more about them. First up, we've got Rodja, who's in charge of marketing and communications at German retailer Otto. Hello, Rodja.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Could you let everyone know a little bit more about your marketing background, please?
Yes, of course. So yeah, my name is Rodja, and I work for Otto, which is Germany's largest retailer. And I started off marketing quite late in my professional career, to be honest. Because I started off in the digital music business and then got into marketing like 7 or 8 years ago. And I joined a digital agency over here in Hamburg called Elbtutler, where I then became a managing partner, and we consulted quite a lot of international brands like Johnson & Johnson or Philips on their way to digital leadership. And then I switched sides last year and joined a Silicon Valley-based company called Wonder Workshop, where I was in charge as the marketing director for the German territory and set up marketing over here. And then I started to join Otto in October last year, where I oversee everything in terms of marketing communications.
Excellent. See, I told you all watching we have some serious marketing talent in this panel for you, and Roger's just proved that. Okay, next up we have Nicolas. He's the CEO and co-founder at Melvin and Hamilton Digital. So Nicolas, could you tell us a little bit more about your marketing background?
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Chloe. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for inviting me. It's a great opportunity. I love to participate here in this roundtable. So I've created Melvin Hamilton Digital in 2012. Before that, I had a background as a consultant. After my university time, I started in traditional management consultant. Went on to work in the marketing department for Apple Europe for 4 years. Spent a couple of months in Cupertino. And this is where I slipped into the startup scene. Once I came back from Cupertino, I joined a freshly started German startup called Ciao.com, which the older in the audience here might still remember as being one of the price comparison engines in the early 2000s. And since then, I've been doing different projects in the internet. Started my own consulting company, and since 2012, I started Melvin Hamilton Digital. The brand Melvin and Hamilton is a shoe and accessory brand created in about 30 years ago in 1988 by the father of 2 very good friends of mine, and they're really into the branding and product development, and they asked me to build a digital business. So this is how it came to this setup.
Excellent. Okay, and then last but very much not least, we have Kacper, who's head of international sales who's head of international sales at the largest e-commerce marketplace in the EEC. How could I stumble that? Shame on me. Kacper, can you tell us a little bit more about your background, please?
Thank you. So it's great to be here. My name is Kacper Rozenbaum. I lead international sales in Allegro, which indeed is the largest e-commerce marketplace in Central Eastern Europe, with over 20 million customers regularly shopping every month. My background, I worked for several years in management consulting in McKinsey & Company, in the marketing and sales practice, where I advised different consumer and technology companies on topics related to marketing. And some time ago, I moved to Allegro. I'm leading the international sales side, so mostly focused on bringing the international merchants, international sellers to Allegro, helping them grow, helping them also like use the different marketing and branding tools available on Allegro. So very happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, we have our marvelous panelists. I think it's about time we got stuck into helping all of you who've tuned in to watch to solve your marketing problems, to understand what's coming up and what you need to be focusing on with your marketing in the future. So in 2020, we have seen a huge surge in both consumers moving their spend from offline to online. We've also seen a lot of retailers taking their first step or really heavily investing in that online channel due to the way that consumers have been choosing to do their purchases. This all makes it more essential than ever before for retailers to really cut through, to really stand out in order to get those sales. So, panelists, what would you recommend to those who are listening to help them stand out, to help those e-commerce brands stand out in the current market that we're approaching? Kacper, I can see you nodding there. So you ready to come in on this one?
Of course. So, as a representative of Allegro, which is a marketplace, I think unless, if the retailer wants to go direct, it could choose own channels or could choose e-commerce marketplace. And I think, especially in this current environment, choosing e-commerce marketplace is really a great way to relatively quickly build its presence online. So this is what we've seen on Allegro, and especially last couple of months, a lot of new companies joined Allegro. A lot of buyers also joined Allegro, and we as a platform, we provided tools both for the companies, the retailers joining, so offering really attractive proposition for starting the business online without any sales commissions, without any listing and subscription fees. But what we also did, we also wanted to make sure that the buyers, especially the ones that are relatively new to online shopping, can easily find their ways. So we provided, for example, a lot of free deliveries to those customers. So I think in general, like the marketplace is one of the great ways where there is already a lot of traffic, buyers which are really focused on buying, not only viewing, and I can encourage every retailer to use marketplace. And if Poland with over almost 40 million customers is the market for you, Allegro is the place to be.
Okay, and Nicolas, as a retailer involved with all that's been going on at the moment, have you found that the key way for you to get more cut through is to have your products in more places that consumers are hanging out?
I think it's a very good question to which you can't give a general answer. I think every brand and every product probably must have its own strategy, right? So if I think about ourselves, we originally, even before we started to build our own web shop, we had a pure indirect sales strategy. So we had independent retailer, the traditional brick and mortar world, to distribute our product. And then came the big online retailers like the Zalandos and so on. So we continued to work with them. And then finally, we built our direct-to-consumer business because we felt like it would be super important to have the direct interaction with the consumer to keep the pulse of what they're asking for, and also to be able to have a much wider range of products, because we didn't want to depend on our retail clients to place orders. So in order to grow, we need to have our own online store, because consumers now they become smarter, so they compare prices, they compare products. So I think in our case, this dual strategy, having indirect distribution and direct distribution, worked out very well. It might not be the case for everyone. And then in addition, you have the marketplaces, right? Marketplaces here, there is a wide range of marketplaces that can help you to accomplish different targets. One is clearly geographical expansion. As Kacper just said, we work with Allegro because the Polish market for us is interesting. It is an easy way to get into to see is there demand, but we can't really expect from those marketplaces to develop the market fully for us, right? It's just the first step to get into the market, and then we build our own strategy about how do we get further, right? Do we have to have our own online shop for Poland, for instance? And then other marketplaces can be used more for, selling, whatever you have left in inventory, right? I mean, thinking about eBay or Amazon, right? You can put all long tail into that, which, helps you to clear your stock. So there can be different objectives. There can be different, things you can do with marketplaces. But ultimately, I think the branding and the brand building and the brand management needs to rely with the brand. You can't really delegate this to any marketplace. So this is just a sales channel. It's not a branding channel, if you ask me, if I say it bluntly.
I like bluntness. Always a fan of straightforward, blunt answers. So, Rodja, in your perspective, would you see, as Nicolas just said, the world of marketplaces being more about performance than they are necessarily about brand?
Yes, I'm with Nicolas on that. But I also think that when there's more choice in every category and more brands and people are online, it's vital to harness the priming effects of branding and to be and to really build your brand so you become top of mind. Because I think when there's so much traffic online and so much supply and demand, it's really important to, on the one hand side, and I'm with Byron Sharp on that one, to become physically available and transfer to the online world. Maybe that is a Google Shopping ad, for instance. And on the other hand, you also need to make sure that the mental availability is also strong, so that when people come into the market, they will also start looking for your brand, or if you're a marketplace or retailer, they will start their journey at your site.
Yeah, it's that there's so much we now have to consider as retailers as we're trying to work out those different marketing strategies and where we're going to put our effort at the moment. And it almost feels like the surge in orders many are seeing almost makes it more difficult to work out what to do, because there's so many different opportunities out there. So do any of you have any advice on, for anyone who's listening who's going, well, we could expand our brand awareness, we could invest in the straight performance marketing. Where would you start? Anyone want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, maybe that's one for me as well. Because I think it's not a question of brand or performance. It's always both. There's this nice term, I think Mark Ritson coined it, called bothism. So it's not black or white. So I think these two need to be combined in a very clever way. And of course, it always depends on where you stand as a brand, or what goods or in which category you're in. But in any case, one can't do without the other. So for me, it's really important to point out that it's not a question of investing in performance or brand, but it should always be a clever combination of both.
I would totally sign this, because I mean we've tested marketplaces, and we continue to test and develop marketplace, and we've actually went away from some because we figured out that there was no performance. So it still costs you time and management effort to keep all those marketplaces up and running and to put the right products there. So I think the danger is now, because there are really many marketplaces developing. It's kind of like the thing probably of the last 2 years and the coming years, is that you if you do only marketplaces, then you end up putting your products everywhere, but only half of them really are relevant. So as Rodja said, I think you need to, in our case, we need to have a fashionable marketplace. We need to have the right target audience, and we need to generate some sales. Otherwise, even just showing your products, if nobody buys them, there's no point. There's even no branding effect, right? So it's important to have both. The fit of the brand with the target audience, and then of course performance.
So in this world of bothism, I'm gonna steal that from you, Rodja. I like that. In this world of bothism, where we've got to be doing both the brand and the performance, is there a single marketing channel, a single route to market where we might only consider one of brand or performance, or are they both in everything we do you think? Rodja, you started us off down the path of bothism, so I'm going to come to you on that one.
Okay, yes. The thing in marketing is there's so often that one answer called "it depends," and this is also the case here, because I think every brand or retailer will have their own experiences with marketing channels. But I think, generally speaking, if you want to build the brand, there's still TV, which is a major channel, and it's so important to have in your mix, and it's still driving results. But when it comes to performance channels, there's so many that you can't really point out that one channel yeah, at least in our case. So there's display marketing, there's affiliate, there's search, there's social. So there are so many channels. It's impossible for me to point out that one channel.
Yeah, I think if you consider that very rarely the purchase happens on the first point of contact, right, with your audience. There's a whole user journey that you have to follow, right? And some channels have much more of a branding effect, but don't convert very well. But if you keep them out of your marketing mix, then you will have less conversions right at the end. So I mean, again, like it or not, look at Google AdWords. It's still one of the best performing or converting channels, but it converts after people went through other touch points, right? I mean, they might have discovered you on Instagram or anywhere else, and then they remember you, and then they come through AdWords, right? So they're all, I mean, you know, you have to consider the whole user journey and have a mix, and can try to build attribution models where you try to allocate parts of your sale to those branding channels, but it's, you know, just mathematical models. So I think it comes down to trial and error at the end to find the right mix.
I like that point about it's not necessarily we may be running our Google ads in order purely to drive performance, but if we don't have the branding happening somewhere else, then we're not going to get the sales, and therefore the two have to be combined. But we should be thinking about where that user journey point is, and is it more about make them know about us, make them love us, make them want to come find us when they want to buy, or is it more about mopping up the sales when we get there? Kacper, from the perspective, you know, you're kind of a marketplace representative here, par excellence. And would you say that the role of the marketplace is more one about branding, or is it just pure performance in that overall customer journey mix we're talking about?
Sure. So our perspective, I think, as a marketplace might be a bit unique, because actually, if you think about in Poland, the shoppers in Poland, Allegro is the first place where they start shopping in the internet. So even in terms of search, they start on Allegro versus somewhere else in the internet. So from this perspective, I think we have this unique position where different brands and retailers, they can actually combine the performance marketing, but also branding activities. So obviously, like in search, Allegro, similarly to Google, for example, we have performance marketing solutions where retailers can be really focused on driving sales of specific assortment. But what we are also developing is a suite of different tools for branding, and this can start from general campaigns that we have from branded stores on Allegro, from special brand zones where customers can actually get a special brands. But we are also working with some of the brands in developing, let's say, a wider perspective where they can focus on Allegro, but also outside of Allegro in a one, let's say, comprehensive campaign, including, for example, also influencers on Instagram or YouTube. So I think there are also branding opportunities on marketplaces. At least this is something that we are working on with our partners on Allegro. So I think it could be combined.
I guess it depends on the marketplace and what their role is. There's not a lot of branding potential on Amazon, but there is on a platform such as Allegro. Nicolas, you mentioned earlier about how you pick which marketplaces and you get rid of some and you keep some. Is the ability to control your brand and to promote your brand on those platforms a part that comes into your decision-making process of which marketplaces to be using?
Well, honestly, the decision to maybe leave a marketplace is mainly performance based. So there's not much of a branding effect, right? I mean, there are a couple of marketplaces that we left, not so many, I must say, but some where we didn't have any. We didn't have any sale, or so few sale that it wasn't really interesting and not worth the effort, and we couldn't see it developing. And the other we left was because the economical model was a little bit complicated. It was kind of like a selling club, and then we needed to have discounts all the time, and the commission was quite high. So we figured out that at the end we could sell, but economically it doesn't make sense. So we still consider performance in a sense like the volume we sell, but also of course the margin that's left at the end, because you can compare the marketplace commission, of course, with your own marketing campaigns. So this is the benchmark, right? You can compare marketplaces amongst each other and figure out, okay, which one is the most interesting one in terms of commissions, in terms of costs, and so on. But you can also compare to your own campaigns and then figure out, okay, if I put more into my own marketing and drive more people to my own store, how much would it cost me, right? And how big is the effort? So those are all things we take into consideration. Branding is less of a point for those decisions. But of course, branding is important before we start working with the marketplace, right? If we don't have a match, then we probably wouldn't even start working with the marketplace.
Yeah, you've got to. It strikes me that kind of what we're vaguely coming down to, and I'm not going to give any conclusions yet. We're still debating, but it seems like we're talking that marketplaces will drive the performance, but you've got to be doing the work to build that brand awareness, to drive people to want to find you when they get to the marketplace. Rodja, is that something you've seen with what you've been doing at Otto as well?
Yeah, I think also as a marketplace or as a retailer, you also need to drive branding and become top of mind for people, so that, like Kacper said, people start their journey at your site. So this is also a question of whether you've built a strong brand and you made people aware and keep them aware of your offering. So this is also very important for us at Otto. Because of course there's a competitive landscape with other large marketplaces and retailers, and we want to secure our share of traffic and of business, of course. So this is why branding is very much important too, and also because Otto is currently in the transformation phase of retailer becoming a marketplace. So this is why all of a sudden you have like two target groups. On the one hand side, it's partners and retailers or brands aiming to sell at your marketplace, and on the other hand, it's consumers. So you need to be attractive to both. So as a marketplace, I think it's also one major job to drive traffic to your platform in order for everyone else selling on your marketplace being able to exploit that.
Yeah, so there's both the brand awareness of the marketplace and the brand awareness of the products available on the marketplace. I'm seeing lots of nodding heads. Did any of you want to add anything there before I move us on to the next bit? No? Okay, cool. Like it. You're just agreeing with what I'm saying, which is even better. Hopefully all you guys out there are enjoying this too. If you do have questions you would like to ask following this, then head over to the Allegro virtual stand, where you can book a one-to-one meeting to go through more questions in this marketing brand marketplace arena. But what I feel like we've been talking a lot about the performance side of it whilst referencing the brand. So I want to ask you guys, each of you, what for you is the best channel for building that brand awareness that then drives the trickle down of customers to your own store, to the marketplaces, to physical retail? And with your wide plethora of experience in industries, both e-commerce and beyond, I'm going to come to you first for this one, Rodja.
Yeah, well, it depends. But I think it's for us because we have a really large target group. So basically everyone 18 years and up is a potential customer for Otto. So what we have to do is we have to continuously reach the entire market. And according to that, we need to pick our channels that enable us to do that. And it's very much traditional media on the one hand side. So it's TV, it's out-of-home advertising, it's also radio. But of course, all social media platforms now play a really important role too. So just channels like Facebook, Instagram, but also Pinterest. All these channels are really important for us too when it comes to building our brand and to generating that awareness that we need and that we later on exploit with our performance marketing practices.
I like this. We've got the huge channels, the huge brand awareness pieces, but then we've got the more kind of tactical, shorter term marketing around the social media. Nicolas, what for you is the number one channel for building that brand awareness?
Yeah, so when we started a few years ago, we were pretty much performance based, and we did AdWords stuff to generate first sale and to grow and to reach the first level until we realized that it would become more and more complicated to grow. It's AdWords the prices are going up. It's very competitive. So what we build our brand building on is maybe this might surprise you, but it's a lot on our customers, our customer base. We try to provide some product experience. We try to create great content, share it with our customers, have our customers share it, and instead of we don't have the resources to do it TV, and I don't even think that this is the right media for us. So we really, more on the grassroots, and we're trying to really work bottom up. And it might be also because of our product, which is somehow special. It's very fashionable. It's kind of like unique. It's it attracts people, and many people are really happy, right? There's kind of this wow effect when they unbox the product, and we base it on that. We hope that the word of mouth and of course we help our customers and loyalty programs to spread the word. So a lot of branding is happening through that. It's clearly not enough, and we clearly want to go further into this direction. This is one of the keywords I picked for 2021 is product experience, because I really want the product experience to be unique, people to remember our brand and to share it with their friends and colleagues and family and so on. So that's the way we build brand. We think that our clients are the best advocates.
Love it. I love that as an answer, and we're going to come back to that shortly. But I really should give Kacper the chance to answer this question before we dive deeper into what brand actually is. So Kacper, for you, what's the number one way of building brand at the moment?
So I think coming back to what Rodja said, it's I think similar for Allegro that our target group is pretty much the entire adult population of Poland. And we want to maintain this position as a top of mind destination for shopping. So we are experimenting with different and using different types of channels, obviously traditional, but I think especially for the younger viewers, the social media, but also YouTube, and I think cooperation with different types of influencers, where this branding is, I would say, more subtle in terms of the messaging. I think these are some of the ways how we are doing it. I think one of the most famous in Poland, but one of the most famous, let's say, ways where Allegra brand really became, let's say, like the household name was when we produced or co-produced like a short movies with one of the Oscar-winning 3D graphics and published it on YouTube. So for us, this was one of the best ways to build our brand here. I would say not very conventional, but in our situation, it was the way to reach, let's say, the widest possible target group. But obviously, as it was already said here, this should be and is combined with the performance side of the marketing. So
yeah, you can't separate them, can you? they're so intrinsic. It's so intrinsically linked. But what I wanted to drill down was somewhat Nicolas was saying there around, because it strikes me, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, how do we brand a business? Many e-commerce D2C businesses wouldn't even be considering brand as something they spent much time talking about after they created a logo. Then we kind of got to the point where people would go, we do TV ads, we do magazine ads, really big, expensive marketing pieces. And now we've reached the point where actually it's become as simple and small isn't quite the right word for it. It's become as easy to access, I suppose, as a marketing channel, as a YouTube video, as social media, or even, as Nicolas was saying, it's all about the product, which makes me think maybe does the power of our brand start from the product itself and the customer experience we give, and then everything else builds out on top of that. Obviously, Nicolas, this was your point first off, but Rodja, Kacper, do either of you have anything you would you agree that brand starts with the product?
Yeah, I mean, Otto has a 70-year history, so it's really a heritage brand. Yeah, I think I would agree with that, because at some point every year every brand started off, and probably the product experience became the driving force for building that brand. But I think at one point it certainly is not enough to only rely on that, because you just need to acquire new customers constantly, and you can't really rely on that alone, I think.
Yeah, we unfortunately we don't all have the amazing heritage brand that is Otto. If only we did. Kacper, is that something you see on Allegro? You see brands performing well because they've got that great product and that great customer service element going on?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so I think there are two sides of it. So one is for us as Allegro, we are obviously, we rely on let's say our heritage, which is not 70 years, it's 20 years, but the product experiences and the customer experience. So the best selection possible for the buyers, the best prices. This is something that is this is inherent to our brand in the eyes of our buyers. But I think in terms of the most successful brands on Allegro, I think we see similar things, right? So even the experience that they get when they decide to shop from a certain brand. There are, let's say, different ways how brands can like show their assortment on Allegro with dedicated shops, and the customer experience. I think, especially the post-sales one, this is also something that is, I think, driving this, let's say, sustainable growth of the business, because eventually, especially on the marketplace, the buyers, they have an opportunity to share their feedback, share their experience with certain sellers, and the other buyers are relying on that, because these are just different buyers. And I think this word of mouth, this often is a better, let's say, investment than some of the paid channels, because eventually, if people see thousands of happy customers, and on the marketplace they can see it easily, they are immediately attracted to this specific retailer. So I think it's very important, both for the marketplace, but also for the buyers, for the sellers on the marketplace, to focus on that experience.
Yeah, and Nicolas, I'm going to come to you next, because this part of the discussion started with you and the work you've been doing on getting that product experience right in order to build the brand from the ground up. So as someone who's doing this day in, day out, for those who are listening, who are watching, in fact, who are thinking, yes, that's what we should be doing, we should be improving our product experience, have you got any tips for them on some good ways to go about doing so?
I wish I had. Unfortunately, It all starts with the consumer and your target audience, and what we've seen over the past, and there's some acceleration taking place, is that it becomes more and more unpredictable, right? I mean, on one side you can see consumers running crazy about cheap stuff that they can buy on Wish, right? So they pay $10 for something they don't actually need, but they wait 3 weeks for it to be delivered, and it comes right from China. And the next day they ask you if your products are sustainable, right? And what you're doing for the environment and stuff like this, right? So it doesn't fit together, right? So, so we, I mean, in our case, we're not on Wish. We are sustainable, and we try to make a story, and we try to go much further into the storytelling, trying to pick, the topics and the content that interests the consumer, trying to listen to them. But it's really hard because it's moving so fast, right? I mean, take TikTok, right, as another example. When TikTok started, we looked into this and we said, or I looked into this and said, well, what the hell should I do with TikTok, right? I mean, it's kind of like 12-year-old girls dancing, I mean, and now you look at TikTok, I mean, it's full of brands, right? So, so there is, I think, I don't have a clear tip besides being trying to follow the trends, try and error is probably what could work. Some things just don't work, and give up if you feel like just place bets, right? If your bet doesn't work, give up and try the next bet until something works, and then build on this. I mean, this is what we're trying to do. Is this the right approach? I honestly have no idea. But the world is so fast moving that you have to be just constantly listening and watching what's happening.
Yeah, it is moving so fast at the moment, and yeah, TikTok. I think it was 12 months ago. I think I was sat doing a panel in a real world event like this, and I had no idea what TikTok was because I didn't have children. Turned around and asked the audience, and everyone knew, and I was like, okay, I need to upskill on this one. So there's that, but that's the thing, isn't it? In this industry, there's always something new coming on, and with the rate of change we've seen this year in consumer behavior and how that's differed from country to country, from consumer group to consumer group, from product category to product category, I think it's going to continue to be very interesting as we continue on. But I wanted to touch on something else you mentioned there, Nicolas, which was storytelling, which is something I've been hearing a lot more about in the world of branding, and about almost actually even in the world of performance marketing as well. And just to be clear what I mean by storytelling, I'm talking about when you talk about it, like the problem the product solves, and then you show how the product solves the problem, or you talk about the founder story and the origin story of the business and the products. And I would say this is both a branding and a performance method, because some of the most powerful Facebook ads you see out there are brand storytelling videos, or they are long copy that tell the story and tell that problem story. That's what I'm seeing. Guys, is this what you're seeing as well? Is that increasing amount of story / brand being bought into even performance marketing? Nicolas, you're nodding there. Did you want to come in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a brand, that's, I think it's your duty actually to tell the story, right? I mean, I mean, there are different types of brands, of course. I mean, you can build a brand just to sell on Amazon, right? If your only interest is to be part of, to take part of let's say the marketplace hype, and I just mentioned Amazon because I don't think that's the case for Allegro nor Otto nor those big ones. But then you can build a brand and only focus on selling there, and then you don't need to have a big story. You just need to sell at the right price, right? And do the Amazon advertising, and all works fine. However, if you have a brand that exists in the real world and not only on Amazon, then I think storytelling is something that's really your duty, right? And as you just mentioned, Chloe, the founder story is something that every brand should have. Let's say the inside view, right? I mean, how do we do? How and why do we do this, right? What is our mission? I mean, this of course is very important. Then these days, sustainability is one of the key topics, definitely. And also, as Rodja said, I think, or Kacper, sorry, I don't remember, but the after sale experience also is very important, right? I mean, just to lock in your customers, just ask them, okay, what is your experience? I mean, do you want to share with us what you do with the product, how you like our shoes, did people talk to you on the street? Because that happens to our customers a lot, that people ask, hey, where is this from and what brand is this and so on. So just involving customers post-purchase also is very important. And this builds a story, which I think is important for every brand.
I like that you bring it back to the post-purchase piece there, because I think that's what stops a lot of brands from putting their founder story, their vision, their mission out there, is because they know that their back-end systems are not living up to what they actually want to deliver. So I think that's often what stops people from doing it. But we're getting slightly low on time here, and I wanted to ask a specific question as our last one. But Rodja, Kacper, did either of you want to jump in? Do you have any quick points around the storytelling tips or tricks for anyone out there?
Yeah, maybe just a quick one. I think I would like to share some of the insights that both Les Binet and Peter Field from the UK have found out when researching, I think, thousands of FE cases in the UK. And what they found out is that the more rational the decision making in a category is, the more important emotional advertising becomes. And that's storytelling for me. So that's quite interesting because, of course, main drivers are price, assortment, availability, shipping time, and cost. But that's not enough. There's more to it. So, and the more rational, and it's when people compare prices, that's quite a high involvement journey, I would say. But then the more important, storytelling becomes.
Excellent. Okay, cool. I like that. I like that extra bit of insight. Right, we're very low on time, so I'm going to go to my final question, which is I'm going to ask each of you to give a quick answer for the audience, as we are now on the cusp of the biggest selling period probably in the history of the world in the e-commerce space. The predictions are crazy for what's coming up this Q4. Have you got one nugget of marketing growth sanity advice, maybe, for those out there watching who are about to be dealing with peak Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas 2020? If we come to Kacper first for this one.
Mm-hmm. So I think probably the key advice would be to think how to stand out on different markets, and be sure to have a clear strategy on how on different markets you can really get the attention of the customers. That would be probably the key advice.
Perfect. Love it. And another quick answer from Rodja.
Yeah, I think what we've seen is that customer journeys have changed quite a lot in 2020, and they will continue to do so. And I think it's really quintessential to understand these journeys and allocate spend accordingly and be very flexible and agile.
Excellent. And finally, Nicolas.
Yeah, I have not much to add. I think it's absolutely, I would sign both of the statements. I mean, you have to be prepared for a big end of the year. What we see is, of course, it's driven by inventory. So we're not short on inventory for now. So we kept producing and are happy to have products despite the COVID crisis. So that's the number one. And then, it's going to be a crazy end of the year. It's going to be very different than the years before. I don't know, but I mean, as we just heard, I think the consumer behavior has changed, and so has your marketing to change as well, right? So no specific tips for the end of the year. Just be ready and try to anticipate.
I like it. I think that counts as a tip for me. Be ready and try to anticipate. I think that counts. Well, look, thank you so much for tuning in, all of you, to our roundtable session. If you have any questions arising from this, then do make sure you book yourself a one-to-one meeting by heading to the Allegro virtual stand, because they're there, ready, willing, and able to help you. Huge thank you to Rodja, Nicolas, and Kacper for being awesome guests in this roundtable and for providing so many great tips and pieces of advice. It's much appreciated. And thank you all for tuning in. I cannot believe how many different countries you're all coming from. So it's been an absolute pleasure to help you all out. And thank you in particular to those of you who are tuning in at very strange times of the day. We really do appreciate you tuning in and joining us. I hope you enjoy the rest of Lengow Day 2020. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chloë. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rodja and Kacper.
Thank you.